View from the Pew, the podcast. Hey, if you haven't done already, give us a like, subscribe. Thank you for all your support. By liking and subscribe, it gets our videos out to more people. So if you can help us out, we'd really appreciate it. With Mike Brown, we're talking Buckeyes here today. And Mike, the college football playoff committee made a move that I thought was great. I was really concerned about them not seeding the teams appropriately last year. They said, hey, if you win a conference, you get a top 4 seed. Well, we got into the second round, and all 4 top seeds lost.
Yep, that's right. So I'm glad they tweaked that, and I think there's going to be, now for this year, that's the big change, but I do think within a year or two, I think we're looking at probably 16-team playoff. Not this year, but I think in a couple of years, you may see that.
And I would say once you do that, yeah, I mean, I like the idea of saying if you're a conference champion, you get a berth. It's kind of like with basketball. I get that. But just say, look, you get a berth, but, we're going to take these 16 teams or 12 teams this year, and whoever we think's the best gets the number 1 seed,
Right. Yep. And, well, like I said, I'm glad, unlike the prior situation where that was set for like 7 years, and you could tell the 14 playoff wasn't working, but they were locked into those contracts for a long time, and it got to be where, and I'm a huge Ohio State fan, but you want to see some different teams get in there and get a chance once in a while. And, we were getting basically almost the same 4 teams, at least, if not every year, every other year. So I really like that they've expanded the playoffs this past year. I think it was a lot more exciting. And I think they're what they're doing, and they learned from the previous format. Hey, let's try this for a year. Let's see what works, what doesn't work. Let's tweak it, and then we'll continue to tweak it as we move forward. And that's the right way to do it with the playoffs.
And, a criticism I heard was saying, well, now you're going to have Big Ten and SEC teams in the top seeds. Well, if, maybe a way to fight that is if you have 16 teams in the playoffs, and I'm with you, we're getting there eventually. Not sure exactly when, but we're headed that direction.
Yeah.
Let's have, I think we got 4 automatic bids. Maybe we can talk about 6 or 8,
Yeah, right.
And in terms of conference champions. And look, if you're good enough, I mean, heck, look at like a Boise State. Boise State had pretty high ranking. So if you have a high enough ranking, hey, you'll make it. And then maybe the argument then would be I'm a little squeamish when I say this, but maybe you even make an argument for like the MAC getting a bid. Okay, well, if you win that conference title, you're good. And yeah, you might say, well, will the MAC ever have 2 teams? Probably not. But again, if you develop your teams up, that's how you get higher up in there. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I would rather err on the side of having too many than not enough, because we've seen how it works with not enough, and that wasn't much. It wasn't exciting at all, I don't think. I think it was a lot more fun this year. Obviously, it was fun watching Ohio State win it all, but I think they're on the right road to correcting the playoffs and having an entertaining playoffs that will keep a lot of interest throughout the country.
Well, and if you talk, and I know the criticism last year was, Ohio State, didn't make the playoffs last year. They ended up in a small bowl game, and, some of their players didn't play. Well, if you don't make the playoffs, it's up to the players on what they do. And I know we're in this different world with NIL and everything. If you don't play in the bowl game, you don't play in the bowl game. I mean, that's what it comes down to. But with 16 teams instead of 4, now, hey, if you're legitimately a great team, hey, you're there.
Right.
Let's see what happens. So,
yep. And they also college football needs to change the portal time too. I agree. I do think you're going to see that moving forward. I think they'll tweak that, they'll change that, and I think that will alleviate part of that problem with teams that are go deep in the playoffs.
Huh. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yep. So, I agree. This is kind of interesting. We saw this report. It came from a higher up Texas blogger that is connected with the program. Apparently, there was a report saying that this Texas Ohio State game, now kind of controversial here in Columbus because some people here in Columbus don't like Fox because they say, hey, their big game is this big noon game. And we want to see some of these great games at night, but now we're kind of tied into a noon start. Well, a couple things to think about here. And it's funny because for a long time, and I'm still not sure if there's been an official start time yet for this game, but, there were some conversations based on when will it start and when won't it? Well, remember, they're playing in week 0. And by that, there's only, I think, 8-10 games all weekend long. You see in that week, and again, it's the week before the NFL starts, you're seeing some of these games being played a Saturday night, Sunday night, even Monday night. Right. Well, apparently Ohio State said, hey, we like to play this game at night. Would you consider maybe putting it on a Sunday night or a Monday night? Texas said no. And and they were saying, look, we have a game next week. If we play on a Sunday or Monday night, now we're losing, days to prepare for the next game. I don't know what you do, Mike. I mean, in theory, I'd love to see these games be at night, but again, you're getting lots of money from Fox. So what do?
Right. Well, at the end of the day, money talks, Chris. And that usually decides that. In modern day, now back in the day, maybe not, but today, money and TV revenue talks.
There was a tweet, I believe, from C.J. Stroud where he was just talking about it was kind of like putting the story behind why these new games can be tougher. You like to bring in recruits into some of these games. So the thought process is you're playing a Friday night game. If you're in another part of the country, okay, you got to grab a flight as a high school kid and you get to Columbus by noon, on a Saturday. I remember, Mike, when we were talking when I worked for you at the Lunch Review, I know you like going a lot to these Ohio State games, but man, if you covered a game on Friday night, high school-wise, as a writer, it was hard for you to sometimes make that turnaround to say, all right, I'm getting up early, headed to Columbus for the game. So
that's right. Isn't that the truth?
And
I did that many
Yeah,
times.
and all you had to do is get in the car and hop down. Now you have these high school kids trying to hop a plane to Columbus to get there by noon. I can imagine that could be tough. But
absolutely.
Now, I get C.J. Stroud's point, and again, I'm not saying that he would have left if another thing would have happened, but you kind of got to play with the cards you get dealt, I would say. It is what it is.
Absolutely. Hey, and speaking of Ohio State football, I think they have done a fantastic job in this offseason with recruiting. My goodness, they have done an excellent job in just about every area. And that, when you win a national title, that takes care of a lot of that. But I think their scouts and their coaches have gone out and they've done a really good job. I think they're set for years to come. I really do. And you realize, if you're really good and you're playing at Ohio State, you may only be there for a couple of years and you're going to be in the NFL. But man, I think they've done a great job this offseason with all their recruiting.
Yeah, and definitely it'll be interesting. It might be a little bit of a transitional year, a little bit.
Yeah, it will be a little bit. I think that Texas game is going to really hold a key. If they can somehow get Texas, which has more players coming back than Ohio State does this year. Now, luckily that game's in Columbus, so hopefully that's going to help. But if they can get that opener, then they can get some of those new guys acclimated, because I think after Texas they've got some very winnable. I think they've got Grambling, and I think they got a max score too early on, and that'll give those guys a chance to get their feet wet. And then they hit a pretty grueling, not only Big Ten schedule, but some of the other games they've got. Man, that Big Ten schedule is pretty challenging for them this year.
Yeah, definitely. I sent you an article about an upcoming guy. I don't know if he's coming next year or the year after, but Chris Henry Jr. You remember Chris Henry? He died, unfortunately, a lot before his time. But Chris Henry was a really good up-and-coming receiver for the Bengals. His son is a Ohio State recruit. He's in the 2026 class. And, Mike, I'm not sure if that means he's playing in Columbus next year or the year after. Do you know?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not sure on that one. I know he's a good player.
Oh, he's a monster. I mean, obviously Jeremiah Smith
Yep.
Has been incredible for Ohio State. He's probably your top player in Ohio State as a sophomore. Man,
Yep.
Chris Henry Jr. in high school right now, 6'5", 205, and fast.
Yep.
Which is insane for any receiver, let alone a high school guy. So they're saying for as good as Jeremiah Smith is, look out for Chris Henry Jr. It could be. And then there's another guy that's coming in the 2026 class. Henry's a 5-star. He's a 4-star. Caden Dixon Wyatt. He's a receiver. They're on the same team, Mike. How about that in high school?
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, Brian Hartline's doing a great job of recruiting these guys. My goodness, he gets after it. I'm glad Ohio State was able to keep him because I'm sure there's a lot of schools, and maybe down the road he'll be a head coach. But I'm sure glad Ohio State was able to retain him.
Well, and you wonder, too, can that also progress to other areas of the offense, too? I mean, and you're right. They've done well all throughout, but you kind of wonder I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
I think the key for Ohio State this year is the running back room. They lost 2 big-time running backs. And that's, if I had to look at the offense this year and say pick one area that's going to be answered positively for them to have the kind of year we hope they'll have again, I think that's it. I think they'll be fine. They address the tackles through the portal. I think they're good there on the offensive line. Obviously we know their receivers are the best in the country. I think they've got the best receiving group coming back again. We'll see how it works out with quarterback, but Sam's got a really, he's not real tall, but I think they'll find pockets for him, and he's got an incredible completion percentage up to this point. Now we'll see if that carries over to college football, but the guy can hit open receivers with the best of them. But I think the running back situation holds the key for them. If they can get some pretty good production out of the new running backs, whoever that's going to be, they're probably going to be using 3 guys. I think that holds the key for them. And I think their defense will be fine again. But running back, I think will hold the key for them. How much production are they going to get out of those new running backs?
Yeah, definitely. And Henry's slated to come next year, which makes you think, man, next year you can have a Chris Henry, Jeremiah Smith combination. Look out.
Yeah, think about this. Think about the days back to Woody Hayes and 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and now they're wide receiver. Think about how things have come full circle with Ohio State football as far as their receiving core and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're still getting some good quarterback recruits, and man, like you said, with the receivers they're bringing in, man.
Yeah,
I mean, not just now, but in the future.
General area, and the quarterback's going to look like an all-star.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a quarterback, I see what happened. You got a couple NFL guys recently, most notably Will Howard recently. But man, if I'm a stud high school quarterback, why wouldn't I go Ohio State with the guys that got to throw to? It's going to make me even look better.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So it should be interesting. And final note, this just happened. That's why I didn't share with you in the notes. If you like the college football video game on your favorite video games system, just got announced this morning. Jeremiah Smith is on the cover. So
well, that's a good choice.
Yeah. The other guy, it was interesting. College football had 2 amazing freshman receivers last year. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams of Alabama. He's the other guy that's going to be on the cover with Smith. So
that's a pretty good duo.
Yeah, Smith had an amazing year. I saw some incredible highlights from Williams, too. So it'll be interesting to see both of those guys continue to develop this year. So, all right. Again, thanks for checking us out. Give us a like and subscribe. We got another segment you should check out. We're going to talk briefly about the Cleveland Guardians. Have a great day, everybody.